Hello, hi, this is Christine Crow here and welcome to my channel. And today I am talking about the gold to silver ratio. This is going to be a live Q&A. For example, I did a video on this just the other day actually, and really talking about gold and silver stacking, inflation, some economy uncertainty that is around today. So let's dive into this because it's such a hot topic. Now, I was having a discussion today with a friend and we were talking about the community, for example, and having a backup plan, because we've got to look at different ways besides looking at the monetary, the fiat, the cash that we are using, and the inflation that is currently going up and up and up. So what I want to share with you is some questions, and this is a Q&A. So please do drop your comments in the comment section here. So today I'm really excited to be doing my first live gold and silver Q&A. Now, first of all, I just want to say that I am not a financial advisor. If you need to seek financial advice, then you need to speak to an expert that is qualified to do so. I am someone who is building a legacy for retirement and for the future, for example. So I'm really excited to be here to talk to you today about gold and silver. So if you are thinking of stacking or just trying to figure out how to protect your future, then you are in the right place, because we're going through some crazy economic times right now. So gold is at a state where it is kind of stable, even though it's gone down slightly. It's gone down by say $100, for example, and even up to $200 on some days, for example, but it still is holding its own, should I say. Same with silver. Silver is currently at $33 per ounce, and that, to me, I really do like silver, because silver is at such a good price right now. And yes, gold is also at $3,320, for example. And I'm looking at both strategies, gold and silver here. So what I want to say to you, that it's not too late, because you can still purchase precious metals, and there's so much precious metals out there at the moment that we're not even really getting involved in. Besides, silver and gold seem to be the one that is the most popular, for example, but there are other precious metals out there as well. And I just wanted to say that, and I will be going through that in one of my lives as well. So how much should you be stacking each month? What is the amount that you should be stacking each month? Well, that really depends on what you can afford, you know, after you've paid everything else that you have to pay for example. So what is the smartest way right now, with all the inflation that we're currently undergoing, the uncertainty and the banking news that we hear on a daily basis? So tonight really is about us as a community coming together and talking about this. So bring your ideas. Let's have a real open conversation about stacking silver, gold, for example, and also securing your future. Now, if you've got any questions, please do pop them in the chat anytime and I will answer them. And if you are watching the replay, then still drop your questions in the comments and I'll check them all and I will respond to your questions to do with gold and silver stacking, for example. Now, like I said, by no means am I an expert. I'm someone that's done scrap gold, scrap silver in 2007, for example, and I know the benefits of that. Okay, so if you're watching the live, say hi and drop your questions in the comment. If you are watching the replay, then drop your comments and I will get back to you with that as well, as quickly as I can, for example. And if you're new here, for example, then I welcome you, and make sure that you also hit the like button, subscribe, and to really help us to reach more people. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe for more stacking, wealth building, and economic survival content, because we are everyday people, for example, but also some of you may be business owners and you're wondering, how are you going to cope with this inflation that's happening? Your staff wages are going up, things are costing more, for example, if you're a business owner. And you may have been through some, recessions previously. I've been through 3 recessions, for example, in my businesses, for example, and I've lost things as well. And what I want to say is that whether you're a business owner, whether you're working, whether you're planning for your retirement, then I believe that with the gold and silver, that is something that it stood the test of time. We know it has, we see it. Gold and silver has always stood the test of time, for example. And what I also want to mention to you is that what I saw just the other day, it was actually in China, where they actually had ATMs, ATM machines, where people were putting in their gold, for example, or they was putting in their money and then they would get gold coins and silver coins. And I think that's such a brilliant idea. I've never ever seen that before. I don't know whether you've seen that before or whether you've noticed that there's actually ATM machines where you can get coins or you can put in your gold, for example. Isn't that a remarkable thing to do? I think that's quite, where we're kind of going here, because gold and silver is going to actually be the monetary system, because the fiat, the cash money is dwindling. There's no value in it, for example. So, like I said, drop your comments in the chat and I'll try and answer them as best as possible, for example. So, some of the topics that we're going to be covering is gold too expensive now? Let's really talk about this. Gold is up for sure. Compared to what it was a year ago, for example, it's like $1,000 more per ounce, for example. But compared to the inflation and the destruction of the dollar, gold is still cheap in real terms. But it depends what you can afford. Not everyone can spend $3,320, for example. So that's why I always say one of my favorites is silver, for example. So think about the purchasing power, but not just the price. See, you're not just buying gold for today, you're buying it to buy for ahead, for the future. Don't look at it as it is today. Look at it for if and when you need to have that purchasing power. And this is what I was discussing today with a friend. I was having a coffee and we were talking about saying, we've got to really start looking at going back to basics, going back to our communities, because at the end of the day, if things were to go horribly wrong, we have a community. So we've got a community where there's people that do specialist things. And then we can then help one another. For example, you've got someone that fixes shoes, cobblers, we used to call them in the UK, for example. There's not many cobblers around these days. Persons that fixes shoes, because we tend to go and buy the shoes, for example. Seamstress, someone to make clothes, for example. Someone who is a farmer, where we can get food from. Someone who does vegetables, where we can get vegetables from. Someone where we can get milk from, for example. Because and that's why I've also got a playlist about building a community, because I think it's so important. And then we've got our gold and silver coins, for example, where we can actually purchase things, for example. If the value, the inflation of the currency, for example, becomes the new silver and gold, for example, the monetary system. So what we're looking at, we're seeing so many different things. We can see that President Trump is, putting an order in to start doing deep sea mining, for example. There's a lot of signs that we're seeing that there's a problem. For example, the tariffs being placed around the world, for example, that's putting more pressure on businesses, putting more pressure on people, everyday people, for us to go shopping, etc. So we've got to start thinking ahead and start planning, and even purchasing what we can afford, for example, is going to help us for the long term, because we don't know what is going to happen from the outcome from what's happening today. We can see that things aren't looking so great, but we don't know what the long-term effects are going to be, for example, because this is something which is new to some of you, for example. But I've been through 3 recessions, and there's a pattern that I'm seeing here that is happening. But this one seems to be a bit more stronger than before. The signs are just glaringly obvious, for example. So by having a strategy of stacking silver or gold, for example, building your wealth, preparing for your retirement, because at the end of the day, those that are saving for retirement, maybe you got a 401k, for example, or your pension fund, you don't know what your pension amount is going to be until it's that time for you to receive that pension amount. So it could actually go down in value. So if you've got a backup plan with gold and silver, then that is going to be your buffer so that you can live comfortably. not living check to check, for example, that you've got a backup plan. So, like I said, with the silver, so my stacking strategy, for example, is that everyone says regarding silver, well, how much silver should I buy? How much should I buy each month? Everyone asks, how much is enough? So there's no real perfect answer to that. It's about consistency. I personally aim for stacking monthly. I have a budget, for example, and even if it's a small amount, it's the habit that builds real wealth over time. Gold and silver stacking is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It is something that you build over a 5-10 year period, but you start. You make a start and you're consistent with it. Even if you buy a silver coin once a month, a silver coin once a month, 1 ounce coin, for example, or you may buy a gold 1/4 ounce coin, for example, or you may buy an ounce of gold or even a gram of gold. Something is better than nothing. It's about what you can afford to purchase, for example. So I believe in adjusting it based on what the market conditions are and also what's undervalued. Now, that's why I like silver, because it's undervalued. So, for example, my strategy right now is that I will buy silver 1 month and then gold, say 3 months down the line, for example. It depends really what the prices are. So silver is way under value compared to gold, as we can see, as I've mentioned today. And another question is some people have, and I'm answering some questions from that's been in the chats that I've been getting. For example, can you pay your mortgage with gold? This really is a fun question. Typically, you can sell your gold to pay your mortgage, for example, but will the bank start accepting gold and silver directly in a crisis? History says maybe, but it is a good barter and alternative payment. And it happens faster than you think when the currencies collapse. So, what's happening with banks? Inflation and the dollar. Well, we already know, we can see already that it's shaky. The banks are shaky. And the inflation is the trans story, because in America, Powell mentioned about this, and that the dollar, we don't really want dollar to be printed into oblivion. So other countries are moving away from the dollar, and that's why stacking precious metals is really one of the smartest moves that we can make right now. So, how do you protect your families with precious metals? This isn't just about investments. It's not about risky investments either. It's about security. It's about building wealth for the future. It's about being able to take care of your loved ones no matter what happens with the banks, the governments, or the cash money, for example, which is deteriorating. So I would love to see your comments in the chat. Are you committed to protecting your future? And you can also pop your questions in the chat as well. So let's keep the conversation going here, because I think it's important that we really look at this in depth, because we are seeing these noticeable changes here. And we are moving forward into looking at precious metals more. The banks are already stocking up on precious metals, gold, silver. Wealthy people are doing this. Everyday people are doing this. It's just that we're not being educated enough to do this on a consistent basis. Some of you have been saving from an early age, which I think is absolutely brilliant, that you've been, taught to save with silver and gold, for example. And I think that it's a very wise move, because if you started at an early age, today, say 10 years later, for example, then you would have quite a lump sum of money to put down on a house, for example, without having a huge mortgage. So an example is, for example, let's look at this. Tonight's session is really about taking control of your future, because we really can't rely, well, how can I say this without seeming, we can't rely on the government, because we're seeing what's happening with our governments. It kind of looks like things are getting a bit out of control. I don't know what you think, but the way that I'm seeing things, that things have got out of control. But this is about us building generational wealth as well. So are you ready to build your generational wealth? Are you ready to help others to do the same? Are you ready to build your community of where you are? Drop a comment and I will reply. But I wanted to do this video today really just to say, keep stacking, or start stacking if you haven't done so already. Because with the inflation, with the tariffs that are being placed around the world, at the end of the day, we've got to really start looking at what we can purchase in a small, structured way that's not going to affect our daily living, for example. And I really wanted to draw this to your attention. I mean, I've got in the chat here, I've got my stacker, which is a free gift where you can start buying gold and silver from dealers. There's dealers that are in your community, but also you can buy them physical silver and gold. You can buy it online. I do have a link here which is with JM Bullion, for example, and I'm an affiliate for them, but you can start purchasing and buying. I do like to go to the shops and have a look around because I like to get out and, you know, just to walk around and see how things are. For example, gold, it is moving, and although it's gone down slightly, it's still staying above, you know, $3,300, for example. Silver is $33, for example, and above. So let's talk about it. I know that some people are not used to stacking with gold and silver, for example. My journey, 2007, I was purchasing scrap gold and silver, for example, and I was purchasing it at a reduced price because it was broken jewelry. So I was, you know, purchasing it at 30% less than what the spot price was, for example, and then I would wait until it turned into a, you know, a large enough amount to turn it into a gold bar or a silver bar. So there's all different ways that you can purchase gold and silver, precious metals, for example. So have you ever bought scrap gold jewelry? Maybe you've done scrap gold jewelry business, for example. Gold is, you may be thinking gold is too expensive for you right now, then purchase silver monthly. You know, if you feel that the gold is too expensive, then purchase silver. Then you can also look at building your wealth, precious metals, protecting your family, for example. So check the description here for the stacker, the 10-year stacker for gold and silver, so that you can help build your generational wealth, for example, for the future, for your retirement, for your nest egg. But what I want to say to you is stackers are securing their future. They're doing this right now. And I hope that you'll be able to join me in doing the same. Let's keep stacking, stay ready. And I also want to just let you know about the bonus for tonight is that the stacker is in the description. It's a spreadsheet. I've got the 10-year stacker, but also in that there is the 12-month stacker as well. And there's some other free gifts as well that I want to give to you as well. So I want to say, let's start right. If you're thinking of doing stacking, then hopefully that this video would help to give you that direction of stacking. And like I said, go and visit your dealers. There's gold and silver dealers in your communities. Pop in to see them. You may need to make an appointment because some of them do request that you make an appointment, for example, or you may come across some dealers that allow you to just walk in, for example. You know, everyone's different, so it depends whether you're going into a bullion dealer, you know, then they're going to be a bit more reserved and want you to have an appointment so that it's more controlled and they haven't got lots of people walking around, for example. So, you know, everyone's different. Check out my videos here, and I hope that you enjoy the different videos and the different conversations that I've been having about gold and silver, because I really enjoy doing this and I want to be able to do plenty of videos. I'm going to be doing a video tomorrow about survival skills, for example, so that we can try and do some sort of a checklist to plan for strategies, helping one another, helping communities, growing one another, lifting one another up during these difficult times of uncertainty. So join me tomorrow. I'll be going live at 2 p.m. That's 2 p.m. New York time, for example. And I want to be able to share as much information as I can with you to do with gold and silver stacking. But I'm also going to be talking about other precious metals because, you know, there's so much out there that we don't even know about as well. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope that you've enjoyed this session. Thank you so much for your likes. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. I truly, truly appreciate this, and I look forward to speaking with you all soon. So have a wonderful, wonderful Saturday, Sunday, wherever you are in the world, because I know there's different time scales as well. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you. Bye.